Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. It's Nash, and for today's video I'm going to be sharing with you guys how I closed out my trackers for my Etsy business and my bullet journal for the month of July and what I have set up for August. So I sat in front of the camera a couple hours earlier today to film this, and I guess I never pressed the record button, so I actually filled it out with you guys, but that footage is nowhere to be found. So here I am. I'm just gonna kind of go over it, recap, show you guys what I did fill out and how we did for the month of July and what I hope to do for the month of August. If you didn't see the video of me explaining the trackers and what I have set up in this journal, I'll leave the video in the cards and down below, just because I'm not going to be going into too much detail of the trackers themselves. It's just kind of like the numbers that I put in for July. So let me actually flip. So this was actually what I ended up filling out today to close out my income for the month of July, because in the other video I shared with you guys the first half and this is the second half, and I'm just gonna kind of go over it and recap onto what happened, where the money went, and all that good stuff. So like I mentioned in the other video, the starting balance is whatever the ending balance for the previous pay breakdown was. We have a starting balance of 5 cents, and then I actually ended up returning some labels, so I ended up getting my money back, which was $16.25, plus this right here is the actual income, which was money that Etsy put into my account for this second half of the month. It was $871.66. So total working income, I guess you can say, for the second half was $887.96 was the total number we were working with for income for the second half. And I like to quickly basically calculate what my net profit is based on the money that Etsy paid me minus whatever I put towards the business, mainly being supplies, and then I subtract that and I end up getting the net profit. So we had total expenses, which was higher than usual, was $179.69, so that we got a net profit of $692.01. And this comes to play with the tracker that we have in the first page, and I'll show you guys that in a second. So for the actual money, where did that $887 go? So this is kind of where I have it broken down. For tithe, I put aside $86. And for taxes, I failed in the aspect of contributing the 20%, mainly being because the expenses for the second half of the month was higher than I wanted, because I was running out of supplies faster than expected, so I had to do more frequent runs to the store to hold me over while I was working on orders. The money that would have gone to taxes, I ended up putting towards the expenses. So I ended up putting $90 towards taxes. The goal is 20%, so it would have to be almost double this amount. And then, as I mentioned, Etsy is the expenses, so that's the same price that we have going on here. Nash is whatever money I end up paying myself. This isn't money that just goes to my pocket. This total is actually put towards my actual personal budget, and I put it towards whatever I need for that month, meaning it could go to the expenses, it could go towards sinking funds, it could go towards my cash envelopes, whatever I decide to do. And then savings, I put aside in my emergency fund $10.83. Brianna, this is like a new little, I guess, category. I've needed help within my shop, mainly in the finishing, mainly in the packaging part, just so I can get more orders out in a short amount of time as well. So she's been helping me, so I'm putting aside a little bit of money to give to her for the help. And then I didn't put anything towards YouTube, but whenever I actually purchase something, whether it may be equipment or something that I want to share with you guys on my YouTube channel, I'm going to be technically allocating that in the YouTube category. And last but not least, it's Etsy savings, so I put aside $55. So in total, I was able to allocate $871.48. So when you subtract the total minus the actual money that I ended up using, I guess you can say, I have an ending balance of $16.48. So one thing I'm doing different with my business budget than I do with my personal budget. For my personal budget, I need to zero it out, meaning that I give every single dollar a home, a job, a place. So if this was my actual money, I would make sure that the total equaled the total amount of income that I'm working with. But with the business money, it's a little bit different. I'm not too worried about zeroing out the income, because I could, like, for me, the way I see it, I can roll it over for the next pay period, just so that I can always have money in the business whenever, if I need supplies or whatever it may be, and over time it'll just roll over. So this will be the starting balance for August, and this is what I'm going to be entering August with. So that's $16.48. So that's just something a little bit different that I realized as I was doing my income, I guess, breakdown for my business, that it's just a little bit different. Business money is different than personal money, and the way I actually budget it should reflect that as well. So that is basically the tracker. That is the main tracker that I wanted to share with you guys, basically showing with you guys how I broke it down and where the money went for the second half of the month. And it kind of gives you like an inside look that the difference between the first half and the second half. As you can see, I basically doubled the amount of income that I brought in from the Etsy shop. I have a tracker on the first page that kind of just has a running total of what the total income for the month, and then the full expenses to calculate the net profit. Finished up is the actual sales tracker for the month of July. This is by far my favorite tracker to fill out and look at once it's all filled in, because it's very interesting to look back at the numbers to see how well the shop is doing in comparison to last month. You can see that there was a lot more consistency in the number of sales this month than last month. So that's one of the reasons why I like to do like the same trackers every month, just so I can compare how the shop is doing from month to month. These are all the trackers for July. So this is my expense tracker, my sales tracker, and then my income trackers, my income breakdown for the first half and then the second half. So one thing that I added on that I'm going to try to do now for every month is at the end of the month, I have like basically a recap of things that I realized after closing out all the trackers, and things that I realized that I did good or bad within the business for that current month, and what I want to focus on for the next month that can help me do better. So to go over these with you guys really quickly. So for the end of month recap, the first thing I noticed once I finished my sales tracker is that my sales were much more consistent in comparison to June. As I showed you guys, I was averaging roughly 30 orders a week, which is crazy to think of, but 30 orders a week. That was one of the first things that I noticed. I need to start bulk buying supplies to help bring down expenses for the month, and I knew I was going to reach a point that I would have to start doing this, but I thought it would be a couple months more down the line, and that's where I went wrong. Even though I am a small business, I can't look at myself as a small business, and the numbers show that I'm selling a lot, thankfully, and I need to keep up with that with my supplies, and I can't keep doing those quick trips to Walmart, Target, Staples every couple days to purchase more supplies on the spot. That ends up costing me more versus I was to purchase larger quantities online to save some money. So that once I start doing that and implementing this, I for sure will feel like my expenses will go down, which will end up giving me more money that I can work with for the month. Next, I failed. It was the first month that I failed in my 20% contribution to taxes in the second half of the month. And as I mentioned, it was because of the fact that my expenses were higher. So I ended up just dipping into the money that I would have put into my taxes to cover my expenses. But I want to make sure that I make that a priority, because it is important. I don't want to have to pay more than what I'm putting aside now for taxes. And then another thing is, one of the last actual paychecks that I received from Etsy for the month of July, I thought of the idea of putting aside 10% to save it. So currently I'm doing 20% for taxes, 10% for tithe, and I wanted to add a 10% in there for savings. So 5% will be going to my emergency fund and 5% are going to Etsy. And that, versus me just saying I'm going to put $20 every time I get paid, is because the income fluctuates. So 5% on whatever I get paid won't seem like such a large quantity if I only get paid $100 and I'm trying to put $20 aside every time I get paid into that specific category. So I surpassed the $2,000 in Etsy sales, including shipping and fees. So if we flip back, my total sales in dollars without shipping is the $1,784, but the $2,000 includes shipping and the fees. So even I wanted to document that because that's still a pretty cool milestone. I would like to see this number reflected in this tracker, and then I'll feel like I definitely actually hit the $2,000 mark. But I saw that and I was like, oh my god, this is the first month that I reached that. So I definitely wanted to highlight that in this little recap. So based on this down here is my focus for August. So my focus is to continue with consistent sales week to week, whether that is only 10 sales or even one sale. I would like to somehow keep the number of sales and orders that come in consistent week to week. We'll try my best to do so. I want to try to follow the 40-60% breakdown with income. That basically goes into the 10% that I was telling you about for savings. So the full breakdown that I got going on is 10% to tithes, 20% to taxes, 10% to save, and then that equals the 40%. So this is the first priority. Like, doesn't matter how much I make, the 40% that I have allocated here is the first thing that I have to take care of, and then the rest, which is 60%, will cover expenses for the shop, money that I pay myself, and money that I pay my sister. So this is kind of like what I want to follow every time. And we also have, I want to reach $1,700 income earned. So actual money that I take home from Etsy, I would like to see it reach $1,700. And I feel like that is doable because for the month of June, if we go back here, I reached over $1,600. So I would like to try to up that by a little bit more. And we also have written here, basically have my biggest release to date, middle of the month. I have a lot of ideas for the Etsy shop, and I kind of want to hold off and release everything at once in the middle of the month. And I think it is doable, so I just have to I have that written here as motivation, so for me to actually do it. And last but not least, lower expenses for the shop with bulk buying. Kind of like going off of what I put up here that I need to start bulk buying. I want to actually implement that for the month, and at the beginning of this month I want to do a nice big order of everything that I need, see how long it lasts me, and see if I'm able to last the full month without repurchasing. And if I do, just to see at the end of the month if that made improvements on how much my expenses were for the month. So with that being said, now as you can see here, Hello August kind of lays out the trackers for this upcoming month. So everything is already set and ready to go to be filled out. We have my expenses, we have my sales tracker, and here we have the income breakdown. I feel so much more prepared and ready now that my trackers are all filled out, and I'm really excited to see how the shop does for the month of August. So I hope that you guys enjoyed this little end of the month closeout and fresh start to a new month, so you guys can see how I basically track everything, and you guys were able to see how well I did for the month of July. And I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys in the next one.